Good afternoon, guys. It is January 21st, 2023. In this video here, I want to talk to you about things that the vacuum cleaner industry makes you believe that you need. Now, this can be a controversial subject, but I'm just going to be honest from my experience and research. I've had both the new stuff that's been around more recently, and I've had the older stuff that's been around for 20 years, 30 years. I've had all kinds of machines. Now, one of the first things that I think the vacuum cleaner industry has convinced us that we need is bagless vacuum cleaners, because bags are so inconvenient and bags are expensive. Bags get full too quick and you have to constantly change the bags and all that stuff. Well, I'm going to debunk that right now and say that you don't have to change the bags as often as they say. Honestly, it's the other way around. A bagless vacuum cleaner, you have to empty it much more often than you have to change bags. Bags have a larger capacity, they hold more because the bags are bigger than a canister, but also the bag compresses dirt, dust, debris, all that. So in reality, bagged is generally more efficient and more cost effective. And the other thing they don't tell you about bagless vacuum cleaners is you have to constantly clean out the filters, like every couple weeks. And eventually you gotta change the filters, which for one filter, it's the same price as if you bought a pack of like 6, 9, or 10 bags or something. Just for one filter. And the other thing is that the bags, now it depends on your household, it depends on the size of your house, how much carpeting you have, how much dust you have in your area, you know, what part of the country you live in, or what part of the world you live in. I'm in the United States, but we can get quite a bit of dust here depending upon where you're at. I happen to be in the suburbs of Kentucky, and basically, if you're out in the country, you might have more dust, more dirt, and stuff, so that all depends. But at least in my experience, I can get at least 3 months out of a bag. At the very least. You can't quite get 3 months out of a container on a bagless vacuum cleaner before you have to dump it. And you can't quite go 3 months without washing filters or changing filters on most of them. Excuse me. But yeah, now the exception of that would be something like a Dyson or something where the cyclone setup is very efficient to where it keeps more dirt and stuff away from the filter. Um, but even that can have its own problems and challenges. And by all means, I'm not saying that any of these things are wrong or anything like that, but I'm just kind of trying to be honest and tell you what I've really come to find. Um, the next thing, and this is a big one as well, is the manufacturers are so concerned or so consumed with how much suction power a vacuum cleaner has. And that is, when you're talking carpet performance, that is a false measure of performance. Because suction is just air going through. And this is a common thing that I see as a problem, is manufacturers, they don't talk about the brush roll. They don't talk about the agitation that you need to get carpet clean. You have to have a roller brush to be able to open up the fibers and stand up the fibers of your carpet to remove the soil from deep down. Now, as I stated, I'm here in the United States, and here in the US, we have a lot of a little bit longer fiber carpet that can get matted down pretty easily. If you're in Europe or some other part of the world, your carpet may be different than ours. But we have a padding and a nap type texture to our carpet. There's usually the wood or cement subfloor, and then there's a pad that goes down, and then the carpet on top of that. And so there's quite a bit of surface that needs to be, that all that stuff needs to be cleaned out and very well done. Now, when you're talking carpet, suction is only 35% of a vacuum cleaner's performance. You need agitation, which is caused by the brush roll, which is a grooming action of the carpet. It's basically a brush, like thinking about your broom brushing against your carpet, and that's basically what it is. That roller is spinning, and it starts the process of picking it up. That roller dislodges the debris from your carpet, especially hair and heavier debris, or debris that's trapped deep down in the carpet. Um, it moves the fibers around so that way the air can get down to the backing of the carpet, the padding of the carpet, all of that, so that way the suction can remove that. So the first step is agitation. The second step is airflow. And a lot of people have misconceptions. They think suction is like, think about taking your mouth with a straw and sucking really hard on a large piece of ice that is too big to fit through the straw. That's not going to pick it up because it's blocked off all the air that's gone through. There has to be airflow to carry that through. So there was like a small piece of ice or something, and you sucked through, there would be air coming through to carry it. You know, that's about the best analogy that I can explain to people. Um, the other thing is a tornado. A tornado is not suction, it's airflow. It still picks stuff up, but there's air always flowing. Air has to come in and air has to go out. So, you know, it's not all air just going in, because the air has to leave the machine at some point. You know, either through the bag or through filters or whatever. So, when you're talking carpet cleaning, and if you're talking hard floors, then straight air should suffice, but I would still consider something that has decent agitation for area rugs and things like that. You don't necessarily need to get a massive machine like this. This is a Kirby, um, but yeah, there's so many things that, you know, the industry has kind of convinced us that we need, and the other thing is, you know, brush rollers that have very soft bristles and everything. Now, in the case of a hard floor household, it wouldn't be a bad thing, but having soft bristles on a brush roll is not good for carpet. Um, Now, they don't need to be like super razor stiff. I mean, there is a point of too stiff, but they need to be rigid enough to be able to vibrate the lower pad of the carpet. And, you know, and the other thing is, the vacuum industry has kind of convinced people that a heavy vacuum cleaner is a bad vacuum cleaner. And that is completely false and fake. Yeah, there can be heavy machines that aren't good, that don't work so well, that aren't the best designed. But just because a vacuum cleaner is heavy doesn't mean that it's a bad machine. And just because the vacuum cleaner is light doesn't mean it's a bad machine either. It can go both ways. I've seen some vacuum cleaners that are really heavy that really don't do a good job. Um, and I think part of that may have to do with, the age and the wear and tear on the parts and stuff, and it may have needed to be serviced. But I've come across very few. Now, one thing is that I think about, and as a quick disclaimer, I completely understand that some people have medical reasons or just physical reasons that they can't use a heavy machine. I am in no way, shape, or form saying that it's wrong or it's bad to not use a heavy machine. If you can't lift 20 pounds or so, then that is totally okay. I mean, there's no shame in that. We all have our limits. We all have our things that we can do and can't do. But I will say that even though the Kirby's are heavy, they're still very well designed, because the only thing that's really heavy about them is if you're carrying it up and down the stairs. That's when you really notice it, but in terms of actually using it, because all of the weight is down on the bottom, the handle literally has no weight to it at all, because there's no motor, there's nothing in the handle. And it has the transmission in it, which kind of helps. Now, you don't necessarily need the transmission to make it easier to push, because there are other machines such as the Sanitaire and machines like that that are designed that way. But, don't fall for the hype that, oh, well, it's old and it's heavy, and so, it's time for you to upgrade and stuff. That's basically, the TV advertising and stuff that's convincing you, or trying to convince you, that, you need a new vacuum cleaner because, you've had yours for so long. Let me tell you one thing. Bagged vacuum cleaners are generally going to last you a lot longer than bagless vacuum cleaners. And the cost of bags doesn't even come close to outweighing the cost of replacing your vacuum cleaner every few years. And, you're talking probably, give or take, between $10 and $20 a year for maintenance on a bagged vacuum cleaner, compared to spending. I want you to think about this. If your time is worth anything, you're spending a lot of time cleaning out a bagless vacuum cleaner to make sure it performs well and everything. When all you can do, when all you have to do with a bagged vacuum cleaner is just change out the bag, pull the old bag out, throw it away when it's full, and then put a new bag in. And not to mention that you can go months and months and months on one bag. if your time's worth anything, you may be saving a little bit of money, but not much, because you're still having to change the filters eventually, because filters don't last the entire life of the machine. I mean, if a manufacturer claims that, then they're lying to you, because that's just physically impossible. Because if you're cleaning out filters and stuff, eventually those filters are going to start to deteriorate and fall apart, and you're not going to have 100% performance from washing it out. And, the other thing is, when you get a good vacuum cleaner, whether it's a Kirby, a Sanitaire, a Riccar, a Sebo, those machines are built to last. And I'm gonna share something that I saw online. I actually saw an Amazon review of a part. This person had a Kirby from the late 90s, like this one, and she said, or he, I don't know, but person said, these carbon brushes revived my almost 30-year-old Kirby. After years of fighting dust, I wasn't ready to give her up. I just said, well, I would like to fix her and stuff. So this person put in new carbon brushes, and voila, it started right back up. Folks, not a whole lot of vacuum cleaners that you can buy at Walmart or Target or Amazon or wherever are easily repaired like that. And that's another thing. I want to talk about this one. This vacuum cleaner that you're seeing on your screen right now is a Kirby G5 from 1998. Do you know that this vacuum cleaner is older than I am? And it just runs flawlessly. When you buy a machine that is built to last, it's an investment, and it will keep on giving time and time and time again. Because, the vacuum cleaner industry kind of wants us to believe that we need, super fancy features, super high filtration, super, just all these different things. And in reality, it's not always true, because newer is not always better. Because I can tell you, most vacuum cleaners today do not clean nearly as well as vacuum cleaners from the 1940s, 1950s, 1960s, 1970s, 80s, 90s, because most of them have plastic brush rollers which barely beat the carpet instead of wood brush rollers, which used to be way more common, and metal brush rolls, which used to be very common back, you know, 40, 50 years ago. So, you know, if you have an older vacuum cleaner with a wood brush roll, or you have an old Kirby or an old Sanitaire, or, you know, those machines and they've lasted you a long time, and you're considering getting a new one just because, you know, now I'm not talking about like if you genuinely have a need. Like if you have a need where you need something smaller because you've downsized your home, or you just physically can't handle a heavier or larger machine, then I completely understand that. But if you're just upgrading just because, I would not do it. Because you're not going to get as good a performance as these older ones were, or the better ones that you can get, which you're going to pay anywhere from $4, $5, $6, $700 for at least, if not more. And that old Kirby that you have, or that old, you know, Sanitaire, or whatever, is going to continue to serve you well. Even if it needs a repair, most of the time, you just repair it and then it's going for another 10, 15, 20 years. And so, really, in the grand scheme of things, and I'm just gonna say it, and I believe there's good vacuum cleaners from Walmart or Target or whatever that can do the job. But I'm gonna tell you, compared to these older machines that were built very well, and it's not just the Kirby's and the Sanitaires, it's the older Eurekas, it's the older Hoovers that were made very well. Compared to all these older machines, stuff that you can get at Walmart or Target, they're junk. They are junk compared to these. And so, and I'm not knocking anybody who buys those machines because that's why they sell them. There's always going to be a market for those. But if there's no valid reason to replace your vacuum cleaner, like a Kirby, an old Hoover, an old Eureka, an old Sanitaire, don't do it, because you're not gonna get the kind of performance that you've been getting with these good machines. Keep those old babies running. And I could tell you, these Kirby's, I mean, this one in front of me, it's a beast, and I can tell you, as long as I maintain it and take care of it, it's probably gonna outlive me, I'm sure. So, I don't know who would get it in the will, but, um, but besides that, I mean, they do last a very long time. And, you know, financially, it's going to save you a lot of money by continuing to use these good machines that you've already paid for and that are designed to last for a long time. And not to mention, you know, it just makes more sense because you're not throwing away machines, because most of the machines nowadays are completely disposable. I mean, they're just junk. They don't last. They break within 3 years, and people throw them away. And people are all up in arms about like, oh, less waste, less waste, less waste, and we need to save the planet and blah blah blah. But honestly, if you want to do that, then keep your old Kirby, keep your old Sanitaire, keep those old machines, keep them running. Because, I mean, I don't care about the bags. Yes, you have the waste of the bags and stuff, but that is nothing compared to entire plastic machines going in our landfills. Nothing. I would much rather throw away a paper bag than throw away an entire hunk of plastic. So anyway, I hope that was informative. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos.